For today's exercise, we're going to be doing block letters, still with our vanishing point. However, we are going to work on having our block letters only be block letters by using our vanishing point and techniques of perspective, but we are going to not have them continue all the way back into space and learn how to cut them off and stop them so they look like they have more of a box effect. We're going to start with our vanishing point at the top of our paper today, so then our letters will be down around the bottom. So we can go ahead, take our piece of practice paper, mark your vanishing point, and then you may use your block letters reference sheet to trace your letters if you wish to do so, or you could freehand them since this is practice. But it will be better practice if you have more precise letters to help us with getting them to our vanishing point. So tracing them is okay. Remember, our goal is to show the illusion of perspective, not perfectly draw our bubble letters. But if you can do bubble letters freehand, you may. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sketch a few of my letters using the reference, and then I'm gonna freehand the next set. So we're on E. Remember, we want to try to space our letters out, so that way we're giving other letters some space. I'm going to make an adjustment to the T. All right, when you have your letters sketched or traced out, let's go ahead and take our Sharpie and let's outline them so that way we know what we're working with. Remember, you can keep your reference sheet or tool underneath. I'm going to go ahead and just do this because I'm going to make adjustments with the Sharpie as needed. Using my other hand to hold my paper, so my paper is steady. Taking my time with my Sharpie. I want my T to be a little longer, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so now we're going to go back in, line up our ruler with our letters based on the points to put our letters in perspective, just like we did on our first exercise. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Remember, we got to go back to each point. And remember, the S has a curve, but I'm going to make a point here so I can see the side of the S. All right, so we've got our letters, point of the letter to the vanishing point going back. Now, what's different about this technique is that we are going to put another line behind our line, our letter line, so it looks like the surface is showing on the letter, and then we're going to get rid of that vanishing point. I kept these on here so we could see what that looks like. So for the S, our ruler has no curve, it's straight, so we're going to have to try our best to get this curve of the S to repeat itself out in space. You could make it go all the way out here if you wanted your S to look like it was super long, but for this we're going to practice just having it be just a little bit above the first line. These we can keep, and then for this curve we're going to make it go in under here, and I'm actually going to extend that out. When you add your value, it'll look a little more clean. We're now going to outline the marks we just made. So now it looks like it is a box, or a little bit thicker, and we would get rid of those vanishing lines, but be careful to leave your vanishing point in place. All right, so let's go ahead and do the W. So we're gonna line up our points, the point of the W to the vanishing point, all the way back, all the way back, every single point. And with practice, you'll get it to the point where you don't need to use a ruler as much to make sure these points and the angles are correct. But for right now, we're using it to make sure we understand. So again, we're gonna just extend, we're gonna make another line in the back so it looks like our W is thicker. Now, we are gonna match up, now that these are straight lines, we're gonna match up the line that we just drew, put our ruler over it, scoot it back, and then we're gonna make another line back here. So when we get to our Sharpie, we would outline that part. We would not outline this part. Not outline this part. Let's see if I can, there we go. All right, so for this line on the W, we need to take this point and have it go all the way down. And it looks like it's connecting to that part, but it isn't. That's its own plane. This would be curved. This is our next line. That's the top, so we're gonna connect that. And then this line, push one back, make sure it's parallel. So this line that we're copying, it shouldn't be like that. That's not what our W, that's not what that line does on that W. So those are the lines we would outline, erase behind it. This is a little bit thicker. We can see it goes back farther than this. So I'm gonna make that one just a tiny bit thicker. There we go. This one looks a little funny because this perspective line, we wouldn't be able to see the wall of that W. So that's why it's got that top. I'm just gonna leave it. Go ahead and do your E, point to point. This one, we don't have this side because it's not coming out on the side. Don't have those sides of the E, it's not coming out on the E. So we got lucky. We're gonna line this up so it's straight. We're gonna move it up just a little bit so we're making a parallel line. Then we're gonna outline the sides. This one also, I understand our brains are maybe a little uncomfortable. It's because we're looking right on top of it. Get rid of those lines. Point to point. All the way with the rest of our lines. Oops. All right, looking for those parallel lines. So this was the end of our E. We gotta make the back of our E, so we would scoot it up. Now, I'm not starting my line back here. My point starts here, but since it's going back into space, the back of my E might start up here. But I'm gonna make sure I have a straight line. So what I'm gonna do is when I move my ruler, I might have to make a line that goes a little farther. Then depending on how thick I make the top of this E would also depend on the size of this line. So it's really important that these two sides do interact, they speak to each other. So I'm gonna do this one, decide the thickness. Looks about the same sizes. We'll do it up there. All right, so since I did my line right here, this means that now this doesn't make sense. If my E went up and down and over, just in this section, that's not accurate. They don't interact that way to show me that they're in perspective. This is my guide, this is my stopping point for this top level of the E. So that would make me want to go down and correct. I would start here and I'm gonna stop when I get to this part of the line. So start here and stop there. So all of these points are interacting. And those are parallel, just like these are parallel. All right. Last but not least, the T. Line it up. erase that. Okay, so like we noticed on the E, it's probably best if we start on the top so we can determine the other areas. So I want to see how thick I want my T. This is my line. I'm going to scoot my ruler back, keep it steady. I want it to be there. I want it to be that thick. So then the next point that I'm working from is this to the end of the bottom of the T, that vanishing point on that side. So I'm going to line up my ruler. I'm going to go to my point, making sure these are parallel. Make that surface as a parallelogram. All right, now this T, this point's going back into space. We want to keep that, but if this is a block, it's got another surface under here. So this is our line that we're gonna match, make it parallel. We're gonna scoot it over just a little bit so that would tuck itself under that bar of the T. We would erase all those and get to outline those lines. And there we go. Get rid of our vanishing point completely. We used it, helped us put everything into perspective. I would erase all of those, and then I could begin using value and adding shading to give my letters the illusion that they have even more depth and more perspective based on the shading.